Where's the flagship among all these ruins? And this is where we get to the very important Adam's calendar. It was rediscovered in 2003 by Johann Heine, and he'll always be remembered for that, because this is one of the most spectacular discoveries in all of human archaeological history. These are the two central calendar stones. Baba Kreda Mutwa, the preeminent African shaman, told me when I saw him, there you can see Adam's calendar, my other book lying on the desk. When I showed him this book, he burst into tears and took quite a while to calm himself down. He said he never thought he'd see that sacred place again. He was initiated at this place in 1937 as a young shaman, and he calls it Inzalo Yelanga, or birthplace of the sun. Specifically the S-O-N, not S-U-N, because it is believed by the shaman that this is where the gods created humanity, birthplace of the sun. That's what it looks like from a helicopter, circular structure, that is north, that is south, not the trees, the stones under the trees. They're the two central calendar stones, and over there you see a wooden pole, that's where the stone man used to stand, and right from the stone man across there, across the Horus bird lying there, which you'll see, we're looking east, exactly east at the rise of the sun. On the edge of this cliff, which is known as the Transvaal Escarpment. There's looking north, exactly north, between the two stones. You can see north-south line goes right between the two central calendar stones. And why is it a calendar? This is Johann Heine showing me of our very first visit there, why it's a calendar. And he did all the original calculations when he rediscovered it. This setting sun casts a shadow, this rock casts a shadow on this one, and you can tell every day of the year, from the summer solstice on this side until the winter solstice on that side, and it comes back. So it's still an accurate calendar, and one of the few that I know. I can't think of any others that do this, monolithic calendars or Stone Age calendars. This is a 3D reconstruction that we did, putting the stone man back in his place, who was removed in 1994 by the Minister of Environmental Affairs, to put a plaque on it to commemorate the opening of the Blue Swallow Nature Reserve. Isn't that ironic? Desecrating one of the oldest sites on Earth. And then they try and prevent us going there because we're bringing tourists there and we're desecrating the place. And there you have, looking out east from the stone man across the calendar stones, very distinct Horus stone, looking at what? 3 stones that seem to align with those pyramidal structures over there that are aligned with the rise of Orion over there. But you'll see more about that now. How do we date the stones? We look at everything. I'll look at anything because you can't date stones. So you got to look at everything. Use your, do what the guys in CSI do. Follow the clues and the evidence. And what makes most sense, you have to go with that. So first of all, this is, every stone there is known as dolerite. It doesn't belong there. It is now categorically proven and shown from geological studies that those stones do not belong there. They were brought there by somebody to build the calendar site. That's the edge of the Transvaal Escarpment. It's known as Black Reef Quartzite, and it's full of gold. There's a gold mine underneath that ridge, actually, an ancient gold mine. The erosion, that piece there broke off there. That's the erosion on the tip of that ridge, on the break. Most geologists I've asked suggested to me, pick a number above 50,000 years for the amount of erosion that happened there. So 50,000 years ago, that piece broke off and landed there. Right? So now we're starting to get to the ancient age of this. But this is one of my best, is the patina growth, because I've told you already that these tools have been molded and shaped, and the patina has grown back. That's what it looks like when the patina is gone, black, and then the patina grows back. This is a great example of a monolith in one of the stone walls that at some point broke, and this tip broke off. Look at the patina that's grown back. There's about 2 millimeters of patina growth. We're dealing with something. This patina is known to grow at about 1,000 years per microscopic layer. 1,000 years per microscopic layer. So for a millimeter or 2 millimeters of patina, we're dealing with something that's 100, 200, 300,000 years old. We don't really have a measure for it, but it's extremely old. And we know that this is not normal archaeology. Look at this beautiful carving of one of the stone structures. So not only did they build the stone circles, but they first carved them into rock. This is another interesting part of this presentation that I normally go into a lot more detail. But look at, after they carved this crack appeared through the rock. This hornfels stone, you should see the black of the hornfels on the crack. On a fresh crack, you'll see the black of the hornfels. but it's so old that the patina has grown into the crack and completely covered up the black color. So this shows us how old this carving is. So we're dealing with probably 50 to 100,000 years old that this carving is. So these are the kind of indicators that we have to use when you deal with this kind of evidence, because you can't follow the normal archaeological routes. They just don't have the tools to do that. But this, my friends, is by far the most important discovery, I believe. If you look at the circular, you can see the whole Adam's calendar is a circular structure, north-south. But the first thing that you notice is that it's not at 12 o'clock. It's not true north. It's slightly left of center. So Johan Heine and I had it measured, and we found out that there's a 3 degrees, 17 minutes, and 42-second deviation anti-clockwise. Now, that's not possible, because we're not dealing with magnetic north. We're dealing with true north. And at first, we thought that this had something to do with the precessional wobble. So I spent a lot of months trying to analyze and speak to experts in precessional counting and all that. And I realized, hold on, I'm barking up the wrong tree. This is true north. Wherever you are in the precessional wobble, true north stays at true north, right? So what's going on here? This is 3¼ degrees deviation. I believe that the man that holds all the information is Charles Hapgood, who's been trying to teach us about crustal displacement and crustal shift. I believe that Adam's calendar is a real geophysical example that crustal shift displacement did happen, because these guys did not make mistakes. They would not have accidentally built a 3¼ degrees out of alignment. It's not going to happen. So, we know that crustal displacement happened, we just don't know when. But here we have physical, geophysical evidence that it did occur. And then obviously the Orion connection. You can't get away from the Orion connection. All ancient cultures do it. I've mentioned it already, those three. There's your Horus stone, and look at that distinctly carved rock there. Those three, if you lift them up, they align precisely with the rise of Orion's belt when it was flat on the horizon. I've had 2 separate calculations done by 2 separate astronomers. Both of those will be wrong, because none of them took into account that 3¼ degree misalignment. So, but it just shows you that their calculations are really, really old. That's really interesting. I didn't cross-examine on them. And just to show you this beautiful Horus stone, I discovered that one morning when I went there with another guy very, very early when I started doing this exploration. And that stone was covered by soil. So we couldn't see. I didn't know that it was actually a Horus or a bird-shaped stone. But then when I moved the soil away from about there, suddenly this beautiful head and nose appeared. It doesn't look like much from here, but there's nothing to stand on to take photographs. You know, if I take one step backwards that way, I fall off the edge of the cliff. So, and there you go. It's about 3.5 meters tall. There's a fat belly there that you can't see on this angle. And the nose is broken off. That's probably maybe another foot there that would have extended. If you lift it up, there you go. Reconstructed Adam's calendar. When I called it Adam's calendar, I had no idea how close to the truth it was. And then we get to the discovering of the pyramids. The mystery just, gets better and better. Look at that. This is one of the first pictures taken of Johan in 2003 when he started measuring the calendar and finding out all these mysteries. One of the best pictures, because I've been there thousands of times and you just don't get good pictures of the pyramidal structures. There's a third one, a little one over there, just sticking its head out. I've been told through various means that there's about 30 meters of sedimentation down there. So we're only probably seeing half of those pyramidal structures. Because of the flood, remember? The flood that destroyed all the stuff. That would have covered all of it. Why are they pyramids? Why am I so convinced they're pyramids? For various reasons. First of all, when you go into Adam's calendar, the moment you cross the circle, because there's no obvious circle, it's an imaginary circle. The moment you cross that circle with your GPS, you lose signal. Okay, it works here. The moment you walk in there, your signal is gone. And I love the macho guys. They just love it. Oh, my GPS will work. You'll see. I'll show you how my GPS works. And they go in there. It's fantastic watching them. Just see that ego drop very quickly. And then when you take the same GPS down to the pyramids, there were 4 of us. I will forever regret not taking a photograph of it, because there were 4 of us standing with GPSs like this. And every GPS gave you a completely different reading. Not just slightly off, but miles off. You were like, in another province. It was insane, right between the 2 pyramids. Not only that, but all these ancient cultures built things according to the sacred geometric principles. So I thought, hold on, this will tell me if it's linked or not. Let me draw a golden mean spiral from Adam's calendar and see where it lands. Well, I didn't have to guess. You got it. So here we can do a beautiful twist on those that want to stick to mainstream science. And we can argue the argument of probability, which is one of the most commonly argued arguments in science, isn't it? Probability. So the probability factor that the golden mean spiral accidentally ends between the pyramids is so completely out of kilter that it has to be linked. You're dealing with several million or several billion odds to one that it's, an accident. So the probability factor plays a very important role here. We're dealing with something that's connected, and also through channelings and other psychic revelations, I've been told in no uncertain terms that we're dealing with some very advanced stuff here. And then when you connect Adam's pyramids through Great Zimbabwe, Enki's house, it lands right in the Great Pyramid of Giza. And all along the 31 degrees east longitudinal line, the Nilotic meridian, right, which is also linked to the white lions of Timbavati, the sacred white lions of Africa. And you start seeing all this connection. It's just beautiful. It just unravels more and more. What were all these stone circles for? Millions and millions of stone structures, all connected. Each one is completely unique, different, built with stones that ring like bells. What's going on here? Archaeological drawings show us that there are no doors and entrances, and some of them are concentric circles, like expansion, amplification chambers, or something to that extent, right? So are these connectors, these channels, actually like wires? Absolutely. So let's go back to what Nikola Tesla said. He said the earth rings like a bell, and it's an inexhaustible source of energy if you know how to use the sound frequency of Gaia. And I believe that this is what it is. The cymatic patterns remind us of what we're looking at. The shape of Om. This is the shape of Ah, sand on a metal plate. That's what you'll find. So what we're looking at here is cymatic patterns from Earth. Each one of these stone circles just simply represents the cymatic or the shape of the sound of Gaia at that particular point. And this is why they connected. So they created one huge energetic field. There's one example. There's Hans Jenny's photograph, the circle in the middle and the spider's web effect outwards, the circle in the middle, spider's web effect outwards, except these were connected so they could share the energy they suck out of Mother Earth.